good, guys? It is Reed and welcome back to a super dope video. In this video I am going to show you another super unique color change that you've never seen before. This is something I call the wormhole change, and it reminds me a lot of the rotary change because it's something pretty unique that you don't see often, and it's a color change, again, something that I don't do often and something that I don't teach often, but it's super cool and super visual, so I know you guys will love it. You might have seen me do it before in the Madison deck review I did in the intro. I did the wormhole change and some people were asking for the tutorial. So here it is finally. It is a super sick color change. I don't know how practical it is. You can do it in person, but it's better on camera. I think it's a little bit easier on camera because it is a very tricky move to get perfect in person. At least I'm finding it is. Not that I am by any means the greatest at it because, you know, it's not something I use a lot, so I haven't practiced it a ton. I can see it being much more of a better camera move, but that doesn't mean you can't use it in person. You definitely could, you know, it's got decent angles, so it's just a little bit knacky. So anyway, make sure you guys stick around to the other uses and ideas. I'm gonna show you some amazing extra ideas where you can change 2 cards, you can change 1 card several times into different cards, so make sure you stick around for that. I'd like to welcome the new subs, you know, make sure you guys drop me a like on this video if you like it, a comment. Really helps the algorithm, so I appreciate that. And yeah, without any further ado, let me show you the wormhole change. All right, guys, time for a quick demo on the wormhole change. We'll take the 8 of spades, and I'll leave it right there. And actually, this is like a wormhole. Watch, when I tap it, it actually changes into the Jack of Hearts. All right, guys, time for some exposure on the wormhole change. We'll start with the top card. All right, so we'll take it, and then we'll open up the wormhole, stick that card in, and then we'll get set up here. And then we will do the change. You can see there's nothing inside, and we will complete the cut. All right, so time for the breakdown of the wormhole change. Now, I think this is a super cool, super unique, and super visual color change. And the important thing here is to definitely make that first card seem like one. So I really like this nice little flick flourish that I do. So we'll start with that. So first you want to get a break under the top 2 cards. Now, if you're doing this for a camera, make sure those 2 cards are fairly different, right? Because you have time to make sure they're not both hearts. So you get a break under those 2 cards. Then you're going to pick up in sort of a middle grip. So the thumb comes on the back, picks up at the break. The index finger comes on the front, and the middle finger comes on the front. So they're both in the middle. Thumb is at the middle, index finger is at the middle of the front of the card. And then you're going to press with the index and flick the card off of the thumb. And then the index and the middle finger are going to come together like this and clip the card. Okay? So again, you pick up at the break with the thumb, index finger on the front, and they're both in the middle. And you're going to push with the index, and as it slides up to the middle finger, the thumb is going to kick out that card, and those are going to pinch the playing card just like that. Okay? So what that looks like at speed is just like that. Okay? Now it does take a bit of practice to not get the cards to split, but if they're splitting, it's because you're pushing in different directions with these 2 fingers as you do the flick. So you're flicking it, and then these fingers are sliding side to side like that, and it causes the cards to split. So you need to make sure that when you do the flick, these fingers you press tightly together and they don't slide at all. You want them right on one on top of the other, and the card's just in there. So boom, and they're one on top of the other, squeezing that card. If one shifts up or down, that's what's going to cause them to split, okay? Now again, this is optional, but I think it's a really nice flourish and it sets up really nicely for the next part. All you really need is the double in this grip. So if you're really struggling with that flourish, I would just do whatever double lift you want to do and then pick up the card in this sort of grip, and then you can go into the wormhole change. But again, I really like picking it up and doing the little flick flourish like that, and you're just pinch really tightly and make sure the fingers are lined up one on top of the other, and you won't have any issues with the split. Then you're going to take that card and you're going to cut the deck. Now it doesn't really matter where, I like about halfway. Okay, you want to keep these piles as neat as possible. Then you're going to take this card and you're going to insert it, but along the top packet. So not along the bottom, along the top packet. And this thumb is going to be able to keep that card in place. It's just going to kind of join the rest of them. You're going to put it in about halfway. So without the bottom packet, it just slides in there, and the thumb just holds it so it doesn't fall, and it's in about halfway. So you have the card, open the wormhole, and I like to make sure they see inside, that there's nothing fishy inside. So I'll hold it towards the camera, open it so you can see there's just, it's just a regular cut. Stick it in, and remember, you slide it along the top, not along the bottom, not down here, up along the top, and this thumb is going to hold the card in place, or the two cards, I should say. Now you're going to do the setup. So right as you insert it is when you do the setup. You're going to pull up on the cards, okay, up like this, and flick off the bottom card, okay, just like that. So at the right angle, so the angle, you don't want to be straight on, you want to be to the side so they can see this card, but not too much, because if you're too much, then they can catch a glimpse of that back card, right? And not down like this. You want to be kind of almost sort of straight on, not like this, but right here, okay? You're going to pull off that back card. So you pull up and let the card riffle off the back thumb. Okay, so now you're in this position. So once you've split them at the back, you're going to release pressure with the top thumb, and that's going to cause this card to fall. You can see it now, it falls down. So now you have one card up and one card down. You need to make sure this card doesn't get pulled out any further than this one. You actually want to push it in, so it's actually in a little bit relative to this one. You can see it's in more. Okay, so if you look, there's about maybe a ½ inch that the top card's sticking out more than the bottom card. But both cards are still off the back of the back edge of the deck, right? So if I show you kind of like that, this card, let me straighten these out a bit. If I show you like this, the bottom card is in a little bit more, but it's still off because it needs to remain, about a ½ inch off. And then this one is maybe an inch or an inch and a half off of the deck at the top. Okay, so we got the card, we insert it, we peel up, flick off the back card. Remember the angle, you want to make sure they can always see this card, but then not enough that they see the card out the back, and you don't want to kind of hold it like this. You also need to make sure that you're not showing in here. It needs to be so they can still see some, but what's going to happen is when you flick the card off, remember, then you lift this thumb and you release the pressure, and that card falls down. Okay, you can also, if you need a little bit of extra help, you can stick this thumb in and pry that card down, okay? If it's not falling, or if you're having trouble getting it to just fall, you stick the back thumb in and you push it down, right? You push it down like that, okay? So that just happens kind of in a nothing moment. You put the card in, get set, and you flick and place it down. So you see I just did it there. I flicked, and then yeah, I definitely do like to push down with the thumb. That's a big help. So flick, stick the thumb in, and push the card down onto the bottom packet, okay? You also want to release that pressure a little bit with the top thumb so it falls nicely. Now I'll also just tap that bottom card in just a little bit so it's in the right spot. So now this one is, about an inch to about halfway out, but I'd say closer to an inch. And then the card underneath is only sticking out maybe ½ inch. Okay, so they're slightly stepped, as you can see, at different lengths. This is the other angle you need to be careful of. You can't reveal that card there, so you need to have the angle so that you don't see the card inside here, but you also don't see it out the back. And then there's this angle under here. If the card's not straight, it'll stick out under. So you need to make sure it's straight here and not crooked, okay? Also, this really helps if your top and bottom packet are lined up. If they're nice and square, sorry, I should say. So just try your best. I'll give you a few tips for that in a sec. And then all you do is you take the finger and you tap both of these cards at the same time. What happens is, because this card's held by the thumb, it just squares up and slides under there. And this card pops out the front, okay? And having them at slightly different lengths makes the timing work right, because you hit this one slightly before you hit the bottom one. If you come in straight, or you'll hit this one first, and then you'll hit the bottom card, and it'll cause the bottom card to shoot out onto the table, and then it'll conceal this card, and you can actually come all the way to here and show there's nothing there. Now, obviously, this is a discrepancy, but to be honest, people don't really notice that. So theoretically, you could just show like this, and people won't really even notice, but I just kind of go like this, show there's nothing inside, and then an amazing subtlety is to complete a Charlier cut. So you really show there's nothing inside, and it also cuts the card to the bottom So now you can easily clean up. So quickly, you get your break under 2 cards, thumb in the middle, middle finger in the middle, index on the back. You press, flick, and squeeze. Okay, pinching it between the 2 cards. Lift up, and you can show there's nothing in the middle. Bring this card around, stick it in on the top, and lock in both cards. Then pull up and flick the bottom card off, stick the thumb in, and push it down so it's along the bottom. Okay? All of this is from about this angle, so it's out of view. Now you can slightly knock this in a little bit with the back thumb. So at speed, it's kind of just, you stick the card in, boom, and you're set to go. It just kind of happens, right? You take the card, you stick it in, and you're set to go. That card is at the bottom now, okay? So it can be done very, very fast. In and set, right? It's just as simple as in, flick up, push down, and you're set. Then when you're ready, you make sure you're not flashing at the front here, and you just take the finger at the back, and you tap both of these cards, just 1, 2, 3, tap, and this card will push. See, I didn't hit hard enough, so this is sticking out. So you need to tap hard enough so that you push this all the way against. The top of the deck will stop your finger, right? Once you've went far enough. So you go until boom, that's all squared. And then it's just about getting the right speed so that this card at the bottom flies out the right amount, okay? Because sometimes you're gonna do it and the card's gonna go flying off the table, or sometimes you'll do it and the card will just go like this and it'll barely come out. So after you've done the change, now you can show there's nothing there, and then you can either close the deck, but then you have this face-up card in the middle. So what I like to do is, we're in the perfect position for a Charlier cut, so you just push up with the middle finger, or the index, and complete a Charlier cut. And that's a really nice convincer nothing's in the middle, because you've just cut to exactly where you did the wormhole change. Now the card is on the bottom, so you can easily just straighten it up, and you are 100% clean. And all the attention is going to be on the changed card anyway, right? When we come here, boom, set up, and execute the change. You see that one, I didn't hit it quite hard enough there, so it was kind of slow and wonky. All the attention is going to be here. You show there's nothing inside, and then look how amazingly clean that is. You literally cut right to the spot, there's nothing there, and the card is just on the bottom, so you're good to go. You can clean up however you need. Now a few tips. Biggest tips I can give you is the setup. You want to keep everything square. So the best way to do that is, as you have your double and you lift this, keep the pinky at the back straddling both packets so that both packets stay square. Now when you come to do the load, you're going to need to move the pinky slightly out of the way so you can stick this card in, and that's when the cards are going to tend to not square. But if you can see, I'm keeping my pinky underneath and it's still keeping the bottom packet square. It's most important that you keep that bottom packet square so that when you flick like this, only the one card comes out. Because if you have this card at the bottom sticking out, and let's say it's not square, and now you have another one of the face down cards from the bottom packet also sticking out, both of those are going to shoot out when you do the change. So you need to make sure that bottom packet's square and only the one card is sticking out the back. The top packet's pretty easy to keep square because you have all these fingers on it, and it's not super important if it's not square. This one, you can just use the index finger to square it up at the front, and in here, the sort of fat of the thumb and these fingers at the bottom can squeeze it side to side and keep it as square as you can. And then just make sure this card's nice and back. You can even take the index finger underneath and square up a little bit like that. So how that looks is you just take the index finger underneath and you just tap it. So when you're in this position, you can just kind of square up, right? If you ever got into the position, things aren't square, you can just go like that, and that squares up the bottom edge back there, which is the most important that you want square. And then you're going to come 1, 2, 3, and you tap both cards, and if you get the right speed, it causes that card to shoot out, this card to be hidden, and you can just complete the cut. The biggest troubleshooting that you might have is probably that squaring action and not getting the card to shoot out. This part's all pretty straightforward, the setup. You can see sometimes when you go to do it, the card will kind of float in the middle. Like it won't, like I've let go of it, but it's not falling. You can see it's just kind of floating here. And that's because it's pinched in this corner a little bit. So you're just gonna wanna push down and kind of wiggle it and it'll flatten out. Like, cause if it gets stuck in there, you can see it kind of just floats there, okay? And then it's just about getting the right speed so that card shoots out, and obviously that was too hard because it shot off frame that time, right? So you just gotta play around with the speed, and it's just as you can see, it's just a quick kind of tap like that. just boom. And I tap both, and then my finger hits the edges of the deck, and it stops. This card is hidden, and you're good to go. So let's talk about subtleties really quick. The flick move is obviously my favorite subtlety for this move because it just shows there's one card going in there, makes the change look really clean, and then showing that everything's empty and applying the Charlier cut is incredible, right? It really makes things feel believable, especially when you do it before, right? They do the change, they show them before, even if they see that 3 of clubs, right? They see nothing in there. You come here, you set up. Now when the 6 of spades changes into the jack of clubs, it's incredible because, you know, they had seen the 3 of clubs, so maybe that could have happened. But even then, now the 6 of spades, like even if you were to lift up and show, there's nothing here, like you can even move it. Look, the 6 of spades is nowhere to be found, right? That's why I love to show it empty again. That's such an amazing subtlety. And then even to kill them more, you do that Charlier cut, exposing exactly where the change happened, and the 6 of spades is nowhere to be found. They can touch this card, it's just a single card, the jack of clubs. In terms of body language with this, I mean, it's just getting everything smooth. Boom, boom, do the load. You can see that flash happens too sometimes at the top corner up here when I flick off, so you just have to get that angle right so you're not down too much. Flick, thumb in, push down, then you can do the change. See, that time what happened is these cards weren't square, so they were also sticking out the back. So when I hit, multiple cards come out. So you really need that bottom edge to be square, and only the one face-up card is sticking out. But yeah, body language, just be smooth, get it down, and you'll be good to go. So time for some uses and other ideas. So I already talked about the easy version of the load, where you just do a double, pick it up like this, and you would just load it in like that. Obviously, that's totally fine, and it bypasses the flick subtlety that I would really suggest trying to use, but it's very easy, and you don't have to worry about that setup. Another idea that you could do is already have this bottom card back jogged and in place, and you hold a break above it. So now you have your card you want to change, and you can just kick over the break with the pinky. So you just go like this, and you just push over, and now you have a step that you can open the cut at, right? And you'll open right at that break. So again, you have your break, and if you kill the wrist a little bit, you can do all of this and conceal everything. You take the 5, you stick it in, and now you can rotate into position, and that card is already set where you need to go, and you can do the change, and you're good to go. So that is another easy version. You have the card already in position, wrist killed, kick it over, open the Charlier, take this card, stick it in, and then once it's in, then you can rotate a bit, and that card will still be concealed at the back, and then you can execute change. One little sequence that I love to use with the wormhole change that works awesome is you go and you do the change, right? Complete your Charlier cut. Now that king is face up on the bottom, so you can take the 6 of spades, put it back on top of the deck, and change it right back into the king of diamonds. So that all I'm doing after I do the wormhole change, I'm either doing a lateral tenkai change or a side steal change, right? So I do my cut, king is face up on the bottom, I put this on top, now I just steal this into side steal, and I come and I can change it over top like that, or I can come here and lateral tenkai change. So whatever you want to do, it's just a really nice sequence because of how well this works. It's all set up, you push it off the bottom, come here, and change it, right? So just a quick idea. And now finally, let's get into 2 of my favorite cool, unique applications of this. We can do a double change. So we change a card twice in a row into different cards. And then I'll show you how to change more than one card. Both of these are quite difficult, but they're fun to play around with. And if you can do them for video, they look really nice. So in this move, you're gonna get a triple. And you can do the flick move as well with the triple. It's a little bit more difficult. So let's say we just do the easy way this time. We pick it up like this, and you're gonna stick your triple in, okay? What you're gonna do is, again, you're gonna pull up, and you're just gonna riffle off the one card, kick it down, and do the setup. So now there's a double up here, right? There's 2 cards. And now you can just do your regular wormhole change, right? Show there's nothing. And without closing, you take the card again, and you're gonna apply pressure here. And what that's gonna do is cause the deck to bow, and you're gonna stick the card in between the double, right? So it's the bottom card, right? So there's 2 face-up cards. There's the 4 that we changed for the 9, and then there's the other card of the double, which in this case is the queen of diamonds. So you're gonna stick it in between those. So you apply pressure, the deck bows, and then you can easily stick it in between the 2, And you can use this to pry that card now down onto the bottom, okay? So that's exactly what I do. As I'm resetting, we're setting up for the next change. I bow, stick the card in, push it down. Now this one goes along the top again, right? So everything's normal. So from this angle, I've picked up this card and I'm gonna put it in just like this. And it happens very quickly. So now this card's gonna be down like this. And as I'm here, I can just pull it back slightly with the index. Literally just stick my finger in and pull it back so then I'm ready for the second change, right? So once again, this is here. I'm gonna bow, stick it in, and pry this card down while I place this card in. Pull this back a bit. Now I'm ready for the second change. And I've just done 2 changes. The card has vanished both times in that spot. And it looks really, really cool doing it back to back. So again, you take your triple, stick it in on the top, pry down the 1 card, and you're ready for the first change. All right, so you change 5 of hearts for 8 of clubs. Pick up the 8 of clubs. I'm gonna squeeze, stick it in, and push that card down. As I stick it in, I'll pull it back slightly, ready for the second change. And we've changed it for the queen of diamonds, right? And then you can cut it and you're clean and good to go. Now the next change I like even better. That's a 2 card change. So let's change the red aces for the black jacks, say. Or let's go black queens. What you're gonna do for the setup, you're gonna just place them on top of each other like this. And what I find helps is you bow the aces in one direction, or the card that's gonna be starting with in one direction, and the queens in the other. So I'm bending the queens towards the back and the aces towards the front, right? So they're apart. So now when I put them back to back, I have a nice easy break to get to, okay? Now I just display like this with the 2 aces on front of the queens, and this is kind of our starting position. So we're starting like this. Open the Charlier, and you're gonna put them in like this, and then take this index finger and you're gonna push everything in. Okay, so the index finger is going to come up and push the cards down, because that's kind of the easiest way. Once you stick them in, push everything in, line it all up. Now you have this nice beautiful break between the queens and the aces if you did the bend right. And you're just going to do the exact same thing. You're going to take the thumb and push down those queens onto the bottom, push them in a little bit so they're stepped. And now we do the exact same change. 2 cards shoot out. The aces have vanished, and those cards are the 2 queens, nice and clean. So that is an amazing change. It looks so cool, so visual, and that is the wormhole change. All right, guys, so that is it for the wormhole change. I hope you love it. It is a super cool, super unique color change. Definitely knacky, but a lot of fun, and looks great on camera. Even it looks really nice in real life, too. So hope you guys like that. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Do you guys like my unique little color changes that I've been showing you here? Would you like to see more? Let me know what you guys want to see. I have some awesome tutorials coming, some great card tricks, and you guys are in for awesome stuff coming up, I assure you. So with all that said, guys, please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next video.